Kristen's perfectly imperfect day. Kristen's alarm buzzed precisely at 6 a.m., marking the start of her busy day. She stretched her arms and rolled out of bed, careful not to wake her husband, Jake, who still had an hour before his alarm would go off. The house was silent except for the faint hum of the heater. Kristen cherished these quiet moments, knowing they wouldn't last long. She tiptoed into the kitchen and brewed a pot of coffee while mentally planning her day. At 6:30 a.m., she gently nudged her two children, Ellie and Ben, awake. Ellie, a curious 8-year-old with a love for art, groaned softly, while 5-year-old Ben immediately brightened up at the thought of pancakes. "Good morning, sleepyheads," Kristen said cheerfully. "Breakfast is ready, and today's special is blueberry pancakes." Ben perked up instantly. "Yes. Pancakes are my favorite." Ellie, still half asleep, mumbled, "Can I put chocolate chips in mine?" "Only if you get dressed quickly," Kristen replied with a wink. By 7:15 a.m., the kitchen was a mix of laughter and chaos. Kristen flipped pancakes while Jake poured orange juice into glasses. Ben spilled syrup on the table, and Ellie giggled as she tried to wipe it up. "Mom, look." Ellie pointed to her pancake, where she had made a smiley face with chocolate chips. Kristen laughed. "That's the happiest pancake I've ever seen." By 7:30 a.m., the kids were dressed and eating, and Jake had joined them at the table. Kristen sipped her coffee while helping Ellie pack her art supplies for school. Ben, as usual, was telling an animated story about a superhero he dreamed about. Jake laughed and chimed in, adding details to Ben's tale. Kristen loved these moments. They weren't grand or extraordinary, but they made her feel grounded and connected. By 8:15 a.m., the morning rush was in full swing. Kristen dropped the kids off at school, kissed them goodbye, and headed to her job at a small publishing house. She worked as an editor, a role she had grown to love despite its challenges. At 9 a.m., Kristen was at her desk, reviewing a manuscript for a new children's book. The story was about a girl who befriended a talking tree, a whimsical tale that reminded Kristen of Ellie's imaginative drawings. Her phone buzzed with a message from Jake, "Don't forget we're out of milk." And Ben's teacher sent an email about his class project, "Check it when you can." Kristen sighed, jotting down a note to stop by the store after work. Her to-do list seemed to grow by the hour. The hours flew by as Kristen juggled meetings, emails, and last-minute edits. By noon, she finally had a moment to herself and decided to eat lunch at her desk. She scrolled through her phone, looking at pictures of Ellie's latest drawings and a video Jake had sent of Ben pretending to be a superhero. Despite the workload, Kristen couldn't help but smile. Her family was her anchor, and even small reminders of them brought her joy. At 4:30 p.m., she was back in her car, driving to pick up the kids. The moment Ellie and Ben got in the car, the chatter began. Ellie shared her latest art project, while Ben talked about a soccer game he played during recess. Back home, Kristen shifted into evening mode. She prepped dinner while the kids played in the living room. Ellie was busy sketching a new drawing, and Ben was building a tall tower of blocks. Jake arrived home shortly after, wrapping his arms around Kristen as she stood by the stove. "How was your day?" he asked, kissing her cheek. "Busy, but good." "And yours?" "Same." "Let me set the table," he offered, rolling up his sleeves. By 7 p.m., they all sat down to a hearty meal of spaghetti and meatballs. Dinner was loud and filled with laughter. Ben accidentally spilled his juice, and Ellie teased him about it, but Kristen and Jake just exchanged amused glances. "Mom, can we watch a movie tonight?" Ellie asked as they cleared the table. "Sure. But only if you and Ben finish your homework first," Kristen replied. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We share stories like this to help you practice English while connecting with relatable, everyday moments. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more. After dinner, Jake helped the kids with their homework while Kristen cleaned the kitchen. Ben practiced writing his letters, and Ellie worked on a science project about the solar system. Kristen paused to admire Ellie's detailed drawing of the planets. "Wow, Ellie, this is incredible." "You're so talented," Kristen said. Ellie beamed. "Thanks, Mom. One day, I want to draw for books like the ones you edit." Kristen's heart swelled with pride. By 8:30 p.m., the family gathered in the living room for a short movie night. Ben picked an animated film, and Ellie cuddled up next to Kristen on the couch. Max, the family's golden retriever, lay by Jake's feet, occasionally lifting his head to beg for popcorn. The movie ended just before 9 p.m., and Kristen and Jake tucked the kids into bed. Ben insisted on a bedtime story, and Kristen read a chapter from his favorite book. Once the kids were asleep, Kristen and Jake finally had their moment of peace. They sat by the fireplace with cups of tea, talking about their plans for the weekend and reminiscing about old times. "You know," Jake said, "even with everything going on, I wouldn't trade this life for anything." Kristen smiled. "Me neither." As the clock struck 10:30 p.m., Kristen felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Her life wasn't perfect, but it was full of love, laughter, and moments that truly mattered. She glanced at Jake, who was flipping through a magazine, and felt a deep sense of contentment. "Ready for another day tomorrow?" he asked with a grin. "Always," she replied, leaning her head on his shoulder.